What's up, guys? Tim here, and I'm back. I think it's been at least a month and a half since I posted anything. It's been even longer since I've actually been able to sit down and record something. As a lot of you may know, I changed duty stations and moved like 5-6 hours away. So between moving, getting into our apartment, realizing that our apartment complex was terrible, finding a house, buying a house, and then moving again, it's been a couple crazy months. Not to mention, I'm finally, starting to settle in at my new job, and so is my wife. So this is kind of where I'm going to be recording most of my videos. You can see behind me, it's kind of lame right now. I got to fix the lighting situation. I just need to make it more presentable in general, right? That wall behind me is pretty dull and boring. So we're gonna get to that eventually, but before we did anything else, I really wanted to make a video because I haven't made one in a while. So in the past, we have gone through the Mystery Tackle Box Company's Pro, Elite, and kind of like their basic box. And from a lot of the comments, it seemed like you guys really wanted me to take a look at the Juggernaut and some other ones. So without further ado, I have here the Juggernaut. This one, obviously a lot bigger. It's got a handle on it. Yeah, this is their Juggernaut bass fishing case. And it's supposed to be $140 value, 16 to 22 items. Unfortunately, I could only get one. The Dick's Sporting Goods close to my house only had one. And the two other ones in my area also did not have any available. So instead of doing a comparison this time, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna open this box and then one of you guys will actually win this box in its entirety. So they're on sale right now, I think for like 78 or 79, 80 bucks or whatever. And I think normally they're around 95 or something. We have the Juggernaut box and we're back making videos. So let's get right into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here we have our Mystery Tackle Box Juggernaut. This is box 471. And again, 16 to 22 items, around $140 value. So let's go ahead and open it up. First thing you get, just like all the other ones, well, actually it's not like the other ones. This one has just this crazy strong fish looking thing on it, which I guess is cool. It's definitely different than, the other ones that we've opened up, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. Right off the rip, seeing a lot of stuff that we've seen before from these smart bait color changing baits. These are new. So I'm gonna go through really quick. Anything that is, something we've already seen before, I'm gonna go ahead and put it off to the left side over here. And I'm gonna put everything that's new on the right side. And then we can kind of just get through this somewhat efficiently. All right, so to get some admin out of the way, right, one of the first things you see is kind of these same old booklets that they include in a lot of them. Tells you kind of just how to, for instance, Carolina rig. Tells you kind of how to work some different, structure and all that kind of jazz. So, if you're new into it, I could see that being helpful. Next thing they include is strike zone, which I guess is what they're calling kind of like their map for fishing different zones. So buzz baits for shallow, swim jigs for 2 to 4 feet, so on and so forth. Again, if you're new to fishing, I could definitely see this being something useful. And I assume they include this because there's probably one of everything that you can use. And then last but not least, you actually get a pretty decent size sticker sheet. It's not just one sticker like the other ones. So we've seen these two before. This one, I forget what boxes they came in, but we've definitely seen these two. These are some new ones. This is obviously specific to the Juggernaut box that we're opening. So again, pretty cool if you like stickers. And we have some returning members. I feel like we can't do one of these openings without seeing these spear point extra wide gap hooks. They're all the same size, 3/0, and they always come in a 2-pack. So I guess it wouldn't be a mystery tackle box opening if we didn't get some of these. One of the other ones we've opened also came with a rod glove. The other one we had was kind of like orange. I think actually there might have been two, an orange and a green one. This one is just a black and gray, a little less flashy than the other ones. Here are color changing baits from Smart Baits. These are their longer worms. Again, another thing that I feel like every mystery tackle box has, so nothing new there. And then we have the Vexen Deep Thud Fat Boy. Different color than the last one we got. However, this one is Colby's Bass Candy. So nothing too crazy special there. Again, for each of these things that we go over, I'm gonna probably put the pricing somewhere on the screen around here. And we're just gonna roll through these. All right, so we have an Excite Heckler. This was designed by Bassmaster Elite Series angler Tyler Rivet. Pretty decent colors. Let's see. Something that I like to do during these videos is kind of take a look at where they're made. And there's nothing on here saying where it was made. Choking hazard, and of course in the state of California, everything and anything will cause cancer. So not sure where this is made. Again, there's no sticker on it. If it is made in Texas, that's pretty cool. I've heard of Tyler Rivet before, seen him on some YouTube videos. So not too bad of a first bait. So I'm gonna pull these together. Never heard of Band Baits. They have a Canadian leaf on them. So I'm assuming they are Canadian. Yep, they are Canadian. And they are actually made in Canada, so that's pretty cool. So we have two different soft baits from these guys. The first one is their Godzilla swim bait, and it's in white. Now, I'm gonna open these really quick just so we can take a look at them. So these ones have a decent sized paddle on them. So I can imagine they, wiggle pretty decent. They also have oil on them. I can smell it as soon as I opened it, and they're nice and moist. So they're also ribbed up the back here. I'll bring it a little bit closer so you can see it. But these look like pretty decent swim baits, and there are 6 in here. So if you like swim baits, you'll probably like these. They look pretty nice, and they feel pretty good too. Also from Band Baits, we have their 4-inch depth charge drop shots. These are in their green pumpkin copper. And these are nice little pretty drop shots here. I love the color on them. It's basically just one color. A lot of different baits will have like top and bottom different colors, but this one is all that like dark olive green that you would expect for green pumpkin. And then the copper is just coming, the copper from the name is just coming from the copper flakes that they have in it. But nonetheless, a very nice looking drop shot. Sticking on the topic of soft baits, we have American Baitworks net baits. These are their black blue flake 11-inch C-Max. Now, these are also made in the USA, and they also actually show you different ways to rig, soft baits, which is pretty nice. Huge fan of the wacky rig. Big fan of the wacky rig. But we'll take a look at these ones. Very, very long ribbon tail. And they actually have, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell on camera, if I can shine the light, but they actually have their company name on the tail. That's pretty cool. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about these. Dark blue with some lighter blue flake on them. Yeah, you get a 9-pack of these. Some more soft baits. Fish Lab salamanders. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I would probably never fish these. Now, maybe if I was like fishing Okeechobee or something, possibly, but number one, I think they're a little ridiculous. If you guys have had any luck with them, let me know. Number two, the packaging is pretty awful. Like when I took this out of the box, it was already cracked open. Now you don't need a perfect seal for these, obviously, but you know, you kind of want to preserve them as best you can. And when they show up, you know, all busted open and everything, that's not really a good look. What I will say though, which is pretty cool, is if you look on the bottom, each of them has kind of like a little bit of ribbon action coming right back from behind the head, which I'm sure makes some pretty cool action in the water. But Fish Lab salamander, they're 6-inch salamander, and you get 4 of them. We have Mayhem Bait Company. This is their liquid mayhem. You have basically their pearl white minnows, and then if you look in there, you have the liquid mayhem. So this is just kind of like bait juice, you know, throw it on there when you throw it in. Not gonna open this one because, I mean, I can just kind of tell from the packaging that they're a little bit oiled up, and they actually look pretty cool. There's a lot of detail on these ones. I don't know how well this liquid mayhem works. I have seen a lot of anglers use, what is it called? Bait pop, I think is what it is. And it's the same concept. You just dabble a little bit on the bait before you throw it in the water. So these, let's see where they're made. Made in the USA, cool. So another product made in the USA. All right, so the last soft plastic that we have are the same company from these hard baits, the Heckler that we looked at. These are Excite baits, and also made in the USA, right there on the package. And not a lot of info about like the name or what it is, but it's kind of, again, got that green pumpkin look to it with some black flake, and it looks like it's almost like a craw variation. But pretty cool looking soft plastic, honestly. It's pretty narrow across, and it's nice and long.
That's what she said.
I'm sure that this would absolutely grab the attention of some fish. I think maybe some lighter flake instead of black would maybe help the bait pop a little bit more, but still good looking bait, made in the USA, can't complain about that. All right, so we have some hard baits to take a look at. First thing up is going to be this Lucky Strike, STX, and made in the USA. Absolutely love it. Big fan of jerk baits. I think they are probably one of the best hard baits you can actually fish with, and the shape and design of this one is nice. I like it. Dark blue up on the top fades into a purple kind of magenta color, and then yellow highlights on the side and a little bit of yellow on the belly. Love it when baits do either like a little shading of yellow or especially orange more towards the lip. It just kind of helps, you know, a fish pick a target and recognize what part of the bait it's actually trying to go after. So Lucky Strike STX, I'm a fan of them. Next up, we have some Lunker Hut products. We have their fillet and their sushi 110. This one is their common shiner pattern. This one is the bluegill pattern. Now, right off the bat, I will say these are some pretty crazy looking designs on these. Super, super detailed, which I can appreciate as a bait maker. But where this is gonna fall short is that they are made in China. So, well, at least this one is. But I don't really see anything on the packaging. Nope, right there, made in China. So, great looking baits, but I guarantee you these are gonna be cheaper than the other ones, maybe. And that's solely for the purpose that they are made in China. Do with that what you will. Next up, we have a swim jig. This is with a 5/0 hook, so a pretty giant hook, and it's 3/4 of an ounce. And made in China. So this is from First Gen Fishing. Never heard of them before. Definitely, you know, meant for a larger swim bait. the head is pretty giant, like it's almost the size of my thumb. And not a big fan of bright white and yellow on these. I prefer purples, blues, you know, something along those lines. So apparently you can watch a video with a QR code. I wonder if it shows you the factory in China where it's made. Next up, we have Pacemaker Jig Series. These are from V&M. Now this is more of a color that I would like to fish a jig head. And it is a 3/8 ounce. You know, sometimes I feel like a lot will either get, you know, mostly everything made in China, or we'll get a lot of the soft plastics made in the United States. And I think we've kind of hit that point here. I think with the exception of these two, the Lucky Strike STX and the Excite Heckler, all the other hard baits are made in China, which again, not necessarily knocking it. You know, it's definitely cheaper to produce these things in China, but I like to support domestic business, and I'm probably going to typically stay away from these. Last but not least, you have a neck gator. I don't know what the design is. There's nothing on here showing it, but it's got like, it looks like green spray. If anything, it almost looks like 6th Sense, which, holy crap. Can we just take a minute to say that there is no 6th Sense in this box? That is actually crazy. Every single box we've opened so far from Mystery Tackle Box has had some sort of Guggen product in it, and this is the first one that doesn't. So pretty impressed. Really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and tally the scores. Really quick, I'm gonna go through, tally up the prices of everything just so we have kind of a number to compare it to, and I'll be right back.
One eternity later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we have our totals. So accounting for all the items that we have, there are 17, which we meet the, you know, minimum 16 to whatever it was. Where is it? 16 to 22 items, so we hit that mark. And in total, the rough value of everything comes out to $154, which also beats that minimum value requirement of $140, which you probably can't even see. There you go. So my final thoughts on this box. I think out of all the boxes we've looked at, even though this one is technically the most expensive, this by far has the best value for what you're actually getting. Now, the reason I say that is because of how many of these items are not just made in a factory in China. Sure, you'll have, you know, these lunker huts, and I think this Vexen is also made in China. But at the end of the day, if the lure catches fish, great. That's really what matters, especially if you're a tournament fisherman. Now, some of these things, like I personally would never use. I don't use neck gaiters. I don't really use these cheaper rod gloves. But something I feel like we always go back to in these videos is if you're brand new getting into fishing and you wanted to try all different types of rigs, you know, fishing lures, that kind of stuff, for 75 bucks, this might be the most worthwhile box that we've opened. It has all different types of soft baits, right? You've got bigger worms, you have some creature baits, you have swim baits, you have, you know, things that you can actually rig these items with, right? There are some absolute bangers in here, like this Lucky Strike STX jerkbait. It might be one of my favorite baits that we've actually opened out of all these boxes. And again, you have nice smaller jigs that you can throw these creature baits on, or you could throw the swim baits on. You could throw a drop shot on it. The one thing I will say about all these boxes though, is there are never enough hooks. As a lot of you probably know, you go through hooks quite often if you're out there catching fish, throwing, you know, drop shots, whatever, right? They always only come with those 2 spear point extra wide gap hooks, which I have actually used some since, you know, we started doing this, and they're good, but I kind of just want a conventional circle hook sometimes, right? Like, the one thing I will say about these is there's never enough variety with the hooks that they send. there's a good variety in terms of like, you know, hard baits and everything, right? They all come with treble hooks, great. But with how many different soft baits we're getting, I'm disappointed that there aren't things like weight and different hooks. But those things are also honestly some of the cheapest things you can buy for fishing. I've used Ozark trail weights from Walmart and they work just as well as Eagle Claw or something else. And they're a lot cheaper because, you know, they're made in China. But at the end of the day, I am actually incredibly impressed with this Juggernaut box. Again, it could be that we just got lucky with this one. We've seen where we opened a box, one of them is super good, the other is super not good. So we may have just lucked out, but I like this box. I'm a fan. And one of you guys watching will be lucky enough to win this box as well. Just like with a lot of my videos, I'm going to put a Google Doc link down in the description. In order to win this box, all you have to do is go down there and fill in the information. I'm never gonna email you, never gonna, you know, send your information out. It's just me getting some basic information like your email so I can, you know, reach out to you and let you know that you actually won. The winner of this box will be announced August 15th. So it'll be open until August 14th. August 15th, I will announce the winner. So get down into the description, open that Google Doc link, fill it out, call it a day. So for the comments, what do I want to see? I want you guys to comment down below what the craziest or weirdest soft bait that you've ever used was. Go ahead and give me a quick description of it. If you want to, you know, tell me the brand and the name of it so I can look it up, because something that I would like to do is actually purchase some of these crazy lures that you guys have used and kind of do a little review on them myself. I think that would be a lot of fun. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for sticking around and, you know, holding out on me over the last 2 months that I just haven't been here. My life is kindly, you know, getting off the beaten path and getting on a smooth road. And I have family, friends, all to thank for that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, everything. If you're not subscribed, go ahead, drop a subscription. If you haven't seen my other mystery tackle box videos, go ahead and check those out. And as always, make today the best day that you can. God bless.